Nice to have you all here. Thank you so much. So we will now talk about the tech transformation in the Mittelstand. So before we start, I would kindly ask you to give us a short introduction of yourself and your company. Do you want to start, Martin?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Martin. I'm the founder of Staffbase. Staffbase is a 10-year-old startup, one of a few German unicorns. And we help large companies and many Mittelstand companies to transform their culture, especially on the front line. So we invented the employee app 10 years ago to help those companies connect with their production workforce.
Thank you. Christian?
Well, Christian Mertens, my name. I'm now the managing director of Sage in Central Europe, which comprises of Germany, Austria, and a little bit of Switzerland. I'm in the role since a year. My career before was really in large companies, like 11 years Microsoft, 7 years in the executive team of SAP. And what we do today at Sage, I'm really proud to say it's a company that currently makes about 2.8 billion worldwide. We are 11,700 people. And we offer software in the ERP and in the HR part for the lower SMB area. So that's where we have our strength.
Nice, thank you. Last but not least, Hasmeet.
Hello, everyone. I'm Hasmeet Kaur, and I'm the president of the transportation division of one of the Mittelstand companies. The topic is all about Mittelstand and technology called Mann+Hummel. The key mission of Mann+Hummel as a company is to separate the useful from the harmful. We are a filtration company, and our vision is global leadership in filtration. Despite being a Mittelstand and originating from Germany, we are a truly global company with approximately 5 billion euro in sales. We deal with all industries, automotive, heavy-duty industries such as railways, marine, but also in terms of life sciences and environment, water purification and air purification. The division transportation that I'm responsible for is 4 billion euros in turnover, and I'm very excited to be here today. Thank you for having me.
We are excited too. Thank you so much. And to kick off our conversation, I would kindly ask you to complete the following sentence. Mittelstand uses tech mostly to... Hasmeet, maybe you will...
Maybe I can start. And I think when I answer this question, it's really from the context of today. So the Mittelstand is using technology, first of all, to generate transparency, right? To generate transparency, have access to data. But what do we use this transparency for? We use this for efficiency, the complex operational environment that we are in with regards to manufacturing, but also very importantly, supply chain. The Mittelstand historically is not known for being customer-centric, being in the B2B environment, and that is something that is also new, customer centricity, new business models. And last but not the least, it's really being used to define a real focus on defining new service ideas and not just focus on products. And that's the story so far.
Christian?
Well, I would complete your sentence. Mittelstand uses digital technology to,
yes.
Unfortunately, sometimes and predominantly solve short-term problems. And I think that's the thing where we as Sage really want to stimulate the Mittelstand customers, not just to look at digitization advantages to tackle one or two short-term issues. I think for me, it is more around going for the total process of your business, looking end-to-end into the business that you have, and leverage technology to really make that a seamless experience for their customers and also for their users. We are running regular researches on Mittelstand where we are asking customers on what they use and how they use. And for example, on AI, big topic that we probably also cover later.
Of course.
You can see that the research shows that only 30% of Mittelstand actively says we are using it. And when you ask where they use it mainly really in very specific areas and don't look into broader adoption of that one. We are even surprised that 27% of the respondents said we're not using AI at all. And that's not using digitization. That's why short-term versus strategic is the message that I would pose.
Thank you. Martin, do you want to add something?
I would actually connect to what Christian just said. I think Mittelstand uses tech to solve actual problems they clearly see. This is why I enjoy working with companies so much. They usually don't care about buzzwords. I remember one conversation I had with like a family owner of a large retail chain, and this was, everyone was talking employee experience, cultural transformation, all those buzzwords. He was not aware of any of that, but he said, hey, when my grandpa created this company, he was able to travel from location to location and shake every employee's hand. Now we are so big, I can't do that anymore. Please give me a digital version for that handshake. So a very practical description for exactly the same thing which all the buzzwords were trying to describe. Right? So I think this is also the trap sometimes regarding AI. If I don't really see the possibilities, then I won't go for it. So this is how I see the Mittelstand.
Thank you so much. What are, from your very own perspective, what are the biggest shifts you have observed in the recent years, Christian, regarding to the tech transformation?
Say again, I didn't get
yes.
the middle.
Yeah, I think it's a bit difficult to hear each other here on the stage. Sorry for that. But what are the biggest shifts you observed in the recent years in the Mittelstand?
Okay, the biggest shifts. I didn't get that one, so I'm sorry. Well, the biggest shifts, I think, if I look years back, I had the pleasure of, in a former company, to introduce a product that today everyone uses, Office 365, in the German market. So that was a real big experience because that was completely new. It was cloud. It was the first time that we introduced unified communications that nobody knew, technology that was really brand new. And I think since then we are talking about cloud adoption. And I think that is the nice thing, the shift that I see in Mittelstand is due to the fact that we're talking about cloud now since about 14 to 15 years, my experience is that the Mittelstand customers are not anymore debating, is cloud the right thing? We have more discussions about how can I move to the cloud? How do I do it with my data? How do I get control about my data? How do I take my people along on that journey? I think that's the big thing that we are currently looking. For me, one of the major shifts.
What's your take on it, Hasmeet? The biggest shifts?
The biggest shifts, I would say, would really be in the area of truly adopting this technology from an end-to-end perspective. You talked about it, that what is it being used for? I believe one of the key issues that we currently have when it comes to deploying technology and digitalization in Mittelstand is to get over that comfort space, right? Some of these companies, especially the German Mittelstand, it has the curse of being successful for too long. And when you're successful for too long, you don't see the need for change.
Yes.
Very often when I'm having discussions with my colleagues, and just to explain to you the complexity of our business, I have multiple markets that we are dealing with. So we always talk about the automotive industry with regards to the new vehicles that are manufactured, which is around 90 million a year. But we also deal with the aftermarket, which is spare parts. And only in cars, there are 1.5 billion cars on the road outside. For each of those cars, we have 6 to 7 products that can go in. The sheer complexity is crazy. And sometimes when I ask my R&D teams, okay, let's look at some data, and they're like, yeah, we're all good. Let me show you this Excel. And I'm like, no, that's not how it is. So I think it's comfort for a very long time. There is willingness to change, and Mann+Hummel is really quite a few steps ahead in adopting that change. But people don't see the need to change, as well as when we do adopt technology, we do spot adoption. We adopt it out of a full process, perhaps for one single step, optimize it from a very siloed view, and then we wonder, why aren't we saving millions from this technology that everybody promised us when they were selling us this product, right? And then somebody else looks at another product sitting on their desk, and then you lose that narrative and you lose that buy-in from the team. And I think that's a huge problem.
Yeah, that's a good point. So what role does internal communication and employee engagement play in making the digital transformation successfully, Martin?
Well, I think it's the main barrier. I also experience that for many companies, the management understands the need for change, which is a big change from like 10 years ago. So everyone has that sense of urgency, but then how can you bring your team along? And so it continues to be a top 3 issue on the minds of of the boards out there. That's what all the surveys tell us, and it's also what we experience with our customers all the time. So it's really about how can I motivate people to become part of something, to risk something, just to embrace something new, right? And it's, I think what makes it so hard is that it's only a little bit a technology thing where people like Christian and I can help, but it's at least half a leadership thing.
Yes.
And the leaders are basically the same like 10 years ago, which means they have to change how they communicate, and like simple thing like, do I allow comments in my intranet? It sounds like such a Stone Age discussion in times of social media and you know what have you, but just that whole thought that I expose myself with communications on the new strategy, and everyone in the company can comment on it, and guess what? They do that, especially the generation Y and Z, right? So they just will send you this random comment, and you might be offended by it or not. And learning how to accept that and how to deal with it. Because if you do it in a good way, something nice will happen out of it.
Yes.
But I find that this is actually the biggest barrier. It's not the tech, but it's that people actually have to change tremendously how they lead in their company.
Yes,
I can add to that, listening to what you said. It's so important what we just talk about to bring digitalization in and get away from just using the spot optimization, which you said. If you want to understand what digitalization can really bring, also for Sage, we have so many new innovations that we want to talk about. So the first thing for me is that our 630 employees in the region, understand the message, feel positive about it, really go out, tell the story. We are working through more than 400 partners for the SMB customers in the region. Again, the partners and their sellers need to understand the messaging, and only if we are doing that one properly, we are there for our customers. We can position, we can talk about the strength that Sage has in that area. So internal communication and the acceptance, absolutely key.
Hasmeet, do you have best practices for us you can share with us?
I would say with regards to internal communication, and I briefly touched upon it on my previous message, I think when it comes to convincing people, what you have to crack the code in communication is you have to help them see how adopting technology can make them more successful at what they do. And this is key, and this is very often where internal technology teams are unable to make the translation from technology to business. Even though I would say I am relatively tech savvy, I'm relatively into new technology, but sometimes when I'm talking to colleagues from an IT background, I zone out a bit because I'm like, okay, that's too much technicality. Please bring me back on how can I make more money. And if you can show me how I can make more money, you have the contract. So I think it's really cracking that code. And then if you can prove it, and this is where we have won in the past, that's what it's really about from a business standpoint.
But would you say there is something missing, like individual expertise, collective alignment, or just like the leaders go ahead? Christian?
I think for me that's a combination. I think Martin already pointed it out.
Yeah.
It has to start from the leadership. If you have a clear vision, what you want to achieve, then getting your people behind this idea that everyone, he and she, understands the key roles that we want to go for. Or at the customer side, also in projects which we consider as extremely important, the users of companies buying our software also need to understand what the advantages are for them as individuals. I can do my job faster. If our co-pilot technology, for example, helps to do your bookkeeping task faster or to do your HR management task faster, then I have more time as a company for the core of my business. Yeah? And that's the key thing that we want to do. And that one best resides with people understanding and adopting the advantages of it.
Martin, would you like to add something? How can we prevent the detachment from the workforce?
Yeah, I think the key is to understand that you have to treat your employees like your customers. And
Yes.
I think our companies, we understand very well how we can market our products to customers. Right? Marketing has become a data-driven function with things like A/B tests, and we know exactly where we have to invest to get a certain result. But internally, we still kind of accept or expect that I give one town hall and suddenly everyone is like, yeah. And then it's like a a personal offense that people didn't listen to me, or But it takes time and effort, and I mean the big elephant in the room obviously is the big trust gap, which nobody here in this room is responsible for, right? But nobody believes media anymore, nobody believes politics, and as company leaders, nobody believes us. So you have to see culture building and internal comms as a campaign, like you would see it with your customers. If you introduce a new product, of course you don't expect there's one press release and suddenly everyone is like, yeah, we need it, right? So you think in terms of a campaign, you make it specific to the certain audiences, and that's what we see the most successful companies in terms of internal comms do as well for their employees. So it's not a one-size-fits-all, but they try to separate audiences, languages to start with, and they try to actually build an internal campaign to actually drive their goals. Yeah.
I can confirm that only one town hall definitely does not help.
No, it doesn't.
I can confirm that.
But you can provide free pizza.
For sure.
People might come.
Brings people back.
Yeah.
We were also debating that one the other day, whether new offices, which we just launched in Leipzig, for example, or pizza. Which one brings the people back? We'll see.
Pizza is all.
I think the new office.
Yes. And Christian, you mentioned it before. AI is a big topic nowadays, especially when it comes to transformation. So what do you think, how do you think the AI impacts the Mittelstand and the transformation, Christian?
Yeah, I think AI, we were just debating at the business breakfast this morning. Some people say it's already a big buzzword, just, big thing and everyone needs to be in there. Again, Sage takes the position to make that very specific and tangible to our software, and that's key. We're not trying to be the next ChatGPT, but what we're doing in our AI is that we train learning models in the network on the data that is relevant for the software which we do. It can be an ERP, it can be in financial software or the HR software, to make the individual person who works with the software more productive. So when you're sitting there, for example, in financials, and you look into your invoices, and suddenly you see an anomaly, whatever, an invoice was always 10,000 a month, and suddenly it's coming under 30,000, the Copilot tells you, and you can chat with the Copilot. You can quickly say, I want to do that, I want to remind the customer. It's by far faster than working with traditional old, math, where you have to go through lots of data sets. So the Copilot brings productivity to the individual role. Just an example from financials. We can do it in ERP, and we also do it in HR. I think the AI scenarios always come back to make it tangible for the individual person in a company that you are more productive on what you do and save time. You can contribute more to the success of the customer. That's what I would describe. Huh?
Mm-hmm. Hasmeet, in which areas are AI applications already there in the Mittelstand for your company?
In which areas? I think the first are the usual suspects. We are using AI tools in a lot of things. For example, in Microsoft, it's embedded. We use that for ChatGPT. We've been using that for translation services. Our CEO, we recently acquired a company in China. Our CEO went there, delivered an entire town hall to a room like this full of Chinese nationals, and he had a translator in his ear, and the others had a translator, and they communicated perfectly fine. So that part of it is already embedded. Mm-hmm. I think the second part, when thinking about the Mittelstand, and again, we are in Germany, the history of the Mittelstand and the focus has been more B2B than B2C, predominantly. Of course, there are B2C companies, but it has been B2B. And in the B2B industry, yes, you can think about deployment of AI from a customer business model standpoint, but there's so much benefit on the inside in realizing efficiency, especially around supply chain and logistics. Just what I talked about. There are 1.5 billion passenger cars in the world out there, and I am responsible for manufacturing the filters that will go in these cars when they break down. Nobody has a clue how to predict when a filter needs to be changed. Right? So the power of AI, if you have real-time big data, if you have data of the supply chain, how the different elements of logistics play in, if you connect that, which we recently in Mann+Hummel, we launched a global digital manufacturing platform connecting all of our plants, and when we link that, which we also now deploy, partially it's already done, but we deploy globally on how customer demand is coming in, we can generate so much efficiency. And this gives a lever, especially to companies in the automotive industry, who have already explored all efficiency levers. We have already squeezed the lemon to the max, and now comes AI, and now we get to make more money.
Martin, in which areas do you use AI already?
So I think, first of all, I think it's important to realize that investing in AI means investing into people. Because eventually AI is there to make people more productive. So we are still a few decades away from AI running the world independently. And I think this is the key hint I would give anyone who looks at how to adopt AI. Like, where are the crucial people processes, where are the things where we have bottlenecks, or where we can help the people we have spending their time on more creative tasks, innovative tasks. So in our case, as an employee comms platform, software platform, we look at the communicator. So we embed a lot of AI to make their life easier. And we look at the employees who are using our software to make their lives easier, information finding and so on. But I think this is really, I would say, let's not try to invest in AI just to invest in AI, but always have a human element in mind, because this is the ultimate purpose.
Yeah.
Christian, just in general, to close the AI topic, just in general, what think you are the biggest challenges for SMEs today?
For SMEs, I think the biggest things that we experience is to have the trust in the technology and understand what the technology can contribute to your business. And I think that's why, again, coming back to what I said earlier, to work closely with our partner network, to have our sales, our technology messages clear, to be trustworthy, tangible. I think specifically in Mittelstand that's important. I think in large companies, they already work on these things since quite a while. And I can imagine there it's more about the models and connecting the dots. In Mittelstand, for me, it's more the trust that we have to bring into the game and show Mittelstand where the productivity for their company can be increased.
And I would like to get another word in there, e-invoicing. Why is that still a problem in the Mittelstand?
Yeah, e-invoicing is that's a very nice thing. When we talk about e-invoicing, you can always see it from two perspectives. And I'm really taking the one perspective to say, e-invoicing, it's a regulatory thing. I just have to get around it. The German government wants that, and the EU wants to have that all done by 2030. I can see it negative. On the other side, if I step in and say, I see this as part of my digitalization. I can send my invoices faster. I can have the data faster. Are my invoices being paid? I can contribute analytics by far faster. I can take AI, like we said, the co-pilot, to analyze anomalies and understand my business better. Then I'm leveraging digitalization for making me more productive as a customer. And I think that's key. And if you ask me which position is better, definitely this one. Yeah, it's not that one. Yeah? We should see technology as solving problems for me as a company.
And what is also key is cooperation, or learning is key, I would say. So where and how can SMEs learn from each other and share best practices, experience? Hasmeet?
I would say, first of all, show up here, perhaps, and then you can talk to everybody around, and then learn a few things. But what's also important, there are multiple vendor conferences. We are, part of the Maschinen Raum, and at the same time, every opportunity you have to talk to someone else. I think I strongly believe that cooperation is the new competition, especially for the Mittelstand, because we don't have the resources and the time to do it all by ourselves. We have to learn from one another. That is the only way we can exist. That's the only way we can thrive. So wherever you are, it's just reaching out and learning from each other.
Very true.
What's your take on it, Martin?
Yeah, that's also what I see. Yeah. Like, if you like, staff-based is, you could say it's in a niche topic, right? So employee communications. But every year here in Berlin, we have a conference on just this topic, and we have 2,500 people just from Germany attending. And the number one thing everyone is looking for is use cases, best practices, sharing. Okay, how does DHL does it? How do the others do it? So I see this happening everywhere, and I love it.
That's nice to hear. And for all those people that are a little bit unsure or not sure if they want to invest in tech, what would be your key advice for them, Christian?
Well, just talk to us, talk to our partner network, and learn about the technology. It's just like, the three of us, when we talk about what we do, you learn instantly. I think that's really my biggest plea is be interested in technology, try it out. Also, if we talk about AI, maybe really dare to use ChatGPT and things yourselves in your private life. Gives you an idea of what it does, and then you can apply it also in business and understand it better. Willingness to learn.
Mm-hmm. Hasmeet, do you have a great example for the perfect tech transformation in your mind when it comes
I think I do, and I would give you a very specific example. I said earlier that the Mittelstand is a B2B industry, and we are product focused, and Mann+Hummel also has a lot of filtration products, but we made quite a major transformation, because when you talk about wastewater treatment, we have a solution called Streametric, and that helps you monitor the velocity, the flow, the load on the different pumps when wastewater is being treated. And this helps you do predictive maintenance, this helps you to manage water flow, etc., and the output is more cheaper for the actual companies that are doing it. So this is a very good example. It's a simple solution, seems almost obvious, but it helps you reduce cost, it helps you upgrade the product you offer. Mm-hmm. And I think we were able to convince our customers so easily to adopt it that for me is a very good example of a good transformation.
So we are running out of time, but one last question to each of you. So if you had to predict one major tech trend that will shape the future of the Mittelstand, what would it be, Martin?
People. People have a bottleneck. People.
Okay.
I would add people loving digitalization.
That's nice.
I think for me, it's to move away. The trend would be to move away from spot technology implementation to an end-to-end technology implementation. There's a famous saying that the worst efficiency for an engineer is to spend time perfecting a part that should not exist in the first place. And I think that's the same when we talk about digital implementation. If you start implementing short points instead of thinking end-to-end, you might miss the whole point. So I think that's where the Mittelstand will go, and that's a trend I definitely see.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was really great to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you for your insights. Have a lovely day. Thank you so much. See you later.
See you.
You're welcome.